Hello, my good friends. Welcome to my show. Jack Xiao is my name. East West is the show. G&E TV, we try to stretch our attention to cover all aspects of life. I said this 1 million times already, but still, there is something I owe my audiences because for the past few weeks we put together some programs, some shows for to audiences for Rotary activities, Rotary Club activities. Rotary International is one of the biggest club of the world, global Earth, and they're involved in all kinds of aspects in those education, philanthropic efforts, stuff like that. Those are program to program basis. Today, finally, we got a chance to talk about the leadership point of view. So joining me is a big man behind the whole thing. It's Dr. Clive Houston Brown. Dr. Brown, welcome to my show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
All right, and I'm flattered to have the chance to finally meet somebody from the leadership and talking about Rotary International. We heard that for a long time. We know it's been a organization that, according to Luann, my good friend, Luann Arredondo, that started with her great-grandfather's time.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right.
Sure. And I would like, please, if possible, give me some background information about yourself and your position, please.
Sure. Again, my name is Clive Houston Brown. I'm a member of the Pomona Rotary Club, and I'm also, the Pomona Rotary Club is one of 68 clubs in District 5300, serving Southern California and Southern Nevada. I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, Africa, and so I saw firsthand the impact of the lack of clean water and sanitation and things like that as I was growing up. Came to the United States when I was 17, and completed my education here and became employed within the California system. And then over time wanted to give back, and so ended up joining Rotary in 2004. And I joined the Rotary Club of Pomona and then got involved in international projects, because the two core pieces of Rotary are fellowship and service. Fellowship is the weekly meetings of the clubs, and then the service involves community projects locally and then community projects internationally to develop goodwill and friendship between countries and between peoples. As I got involved in the international projects, I became the international, or the chair for international water projects, and began to work with all of the clubs in our district to do water projects and other projects in places like Africa.
All right. Quite interesting and quite impressive. I would say that you were born and raised in Zimbabwe.
Correct.
Educated here to all the way to the top.
Yes.
I would say you see both hands of the world.
Yes. I've been on both sides.
Yeah. You know how exactly poverty means.
Yes.
Right. You know how exactly education means. And then your term and your time is putting the efforts together, try to exercise your authority with the leadership to see jobs done.
Correct.
Job being service people needed, right? Last few shows, I was quite impressed about those water programs or projects, call it, and projects. There are many of them.
Right.
There's one gentleman was involved with New Mexico, and there's another one with the Cambodia.
Right.
Those are probably under your management of that. Yeah, you mentioned about the international water program. I know water is being a problem almost internationally. Take California, for example, we do have a water problem.
Definitely.
It's a different kind, right? So you're talking about sanitation type of water. So what is the concept of helping those people from that point of view?
Well, there are about 1 billion people in the world that do not have access to clean drinking water. And there are about 2.5 billion who do not have access.
There are about 7 billion people
Right.
on global Earth, about 1 billion people without a clean water resources.
Correct. So they drink their water.
1 out of 7.
1 out of 7. 1 out of 7 drink the water
That's
that
devastating.
is contaminated.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 billion, so at least a third of the population has no access to clean sanitation or adequate sanitation. 80% of all disease in developing countries is attributable to the lack of clean water and sanitation.
Oh, you're correct. Yes, you're correct.
So
yes.
it's a huge impact. We have 3.5 million people who die each year from waterborne diseases. 5,000 children a day. It's the equivalent of a jumbo jet airplane crashing every 4 hours. That's how many children die each day from waterborne diseases, just from diarrheal diseases.
Those numbers are so devastating. About 5,000 people.
5,000 children a day.
Children.
3.5 million a year altogether.
3.5 million a year.
Yeah.
There's almost like, say, every 4 hours there's a crash.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
So I know the problem is big, and the problem has been big ever since, right? But the fact is that thank God we have the efforts putting by lots of organizations, including the Rotary International,
Right.
which is the biggest in all the efforts. So things are getting better, right? So how do you see that? I mean, what you can do, the problem is so big, right?
Right.
What you can do is only a partial of it. How do you think that partial can be realized someday to take as much as possible to cover the whole picture, though?
There are a few different ways. One of the benefits, the strengths of Rotary International is that it's made up of individuals. Those individuals are part of a local club. We've got 32,000 clubs in 200 countries of the world. And rather than do what many governments do, which is approach things from the top down, we look to approach things from both the top down, but also from bottom up.
Bottom
And
up.
we do club to club connections. So my club will form a partnership with a club in Mexico or Zambia in Africa, and we'll do a water project that affects a few hundred, maybe a few thousand people. So you have 32,000 clubs joining together throughout the world doing individual projects like that. At the same time, we leverage the power of the size of Rotary International, and we have something called a Water and Sanitation Rotarian Action Group, WASRAG. That then looks to form strategic high-level partnerships with organizations like the One Drop Foundation, and we then take on larger projects. For instance, this current year we are working with the One Drop Foundation to do a sanitation project in Burkina Faso. Our piece of it is a $100,000 global grant with it. Their project is a $5 million project, so we're coming in as a piece of that. This next year, we have WASRAG working with One Drop to form an alliance that'll be a $5 to $10 million 5-year impact in Mali. Mali is in West Africa, very severe drought and water issues and sanitation issues.
I see.
So we approach both from the bottom up and from the top down.
By talking with those gentlemen on the previous show, though, I roughly understand the content of your efforts is kind of different from those of, for example, Red Cross, right? Who might give them truckloads after truckloads of bottled water. That's it.
Right.
You do differently, right?
Yes.
Can you explain to my audience from a leadership point of view why and how you do differently?
Sure. When you give someone bottled water, you're providing immediate relief but short-term relief. And the old adage, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach him to fish, and you feed him for life. So it's the same thing with the water. Water is the foundational need and the foundational issue in the developing world. So we go in and we look to do sustainable long-term projects that provide water to a community, to a family or a village or a community, and we put into place systems that will be there for 7, 10 years or longer. And that way we're addressing the problem long-term, and we're helping to lift them out of the kind of the day-to-day disease-ridden lifestyle that they have.
I see. So last time talking to them, they mentioned about the project of digging wells.
Right.
Digging wells. So digging wells is one part. In addition to digging wells, any like say purification plants or stuff like that? Do you have any, please?
We have run the whole gamut of getting clean water to people. Everything from providing life straws, which are about a $6 unit that is a filtering unit for an individual, to digging wells or sinking boreholes that will provide a hand pump that people can from the community can come and
like
get
this.
water. Exactly.
This thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
To putting in electric boreholes where it pumps water into large 10 or 20,000 liter tanks, and then the community is able to come and get the water from that. We do projects in rural areas where you can't necessarily get the equipment out there to drill the boreholes. We do water catchment systems.
I see.
Where we'll put gutters on the roofs of the schools. In many rural communities, the children come to school and then have to go out and find water in the bush because there's no water available.
I see.
So we put rainwater catchment systems around the roof. That fills the water into a tank. The tank is then purified and they have access there.
I see. All right.
So all sorts of different ways to do it.
Sure. Back to my audience. Today is one of the very special moments that we have finally a chance talking to the leadership, one of the leadership people on the Rotary International issue, which is an issue that this show pays a lot of attention to, because the previous shows got some feedback from my audiences saying that they like the spirit, they like their efforts, with lots of appreciation and thanks. Somebody even wrote saying that I have relatives in one of those countries. Thank you for what you did, what you have done, something like that. Today with me is a big man behind this whole thing. He is Mr. Dr. Clive Houston Brown. Dr. Brown, as a matter of fact, University of Laverne.
Correct.
Right, business administration. Right? So let's take a short moment out. When we come back, we'll find out this person, well, of course, how is he doing his side job? Doesn't have a pay.